Okay, cool. And then let me push the link over just to make sure people have it. Refresh. Meet the Makers, Nostr plus AI with Pablo. I'm so excited for this, Pablo.
Me too, man.
It's so hard for me to express. So I can't possibly express to you like how impressed I am with like all of the stuff that I see coming out from the Pablo factory. It's just like, you know, like coffee goes in, code comes out. It's great.
A lot of coffee. A lot of coffee. I have a 1 month old, so a lot of coffee.
All right, cool. I just want to post this one time, and then if you want to start your screen share, and then just
shoot me the YouTube link if you have it.
Oh yes, I got that. Sorry, I'm posting it in like 3 different places simultaneously right now. So I just DM'd it to you.
Okay.
And then this part we can cut out. But
okay, I got it. All right. I basically put my the data vending machines I'm running 3, and I just put them on a while true. So when it crushed 3 stars.
Awesome.
It's how I do 99% uptime.
Yes. slash AI4ALL. Okay, cool. And then just last one.
Well, it kind of works.
Emergency.
Okay, I'm gonna share screen.
Cool.
Oh, Firefox doesn't have permission to share, apparently.
Oh,
nice.
That's not good.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll have to restart it. Is that cool?
Okay. Yeah, that's all good. Yeah, you can just pop off. So we'll cut this whole section out from the beginning.
Okay.
I mean,
perfect.
This is emergency live stream because it's just so cool.
This is YOLO live stream. All right, I'll be back.
Yep. Cool.
Oh, there you are. Cool.
Yes. All right.
Let's see if I can share now. Okay. All right. Can you see it? There we go.
Sweet. Okay, so this is where we're going to start from. So, hey everybody, welcome to this emergency live stream of Meet the Makers for the hackathon. I'm Cody. I'm the head of developer and product support at Fedi, and we're running the AI4ALL Hackathon, intersection of Bitcoin and AI. And we want to do a Meet the Makers with Pablo, who's been working on this data vending machines project with Nostr, which is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And after that, we're going to talk a little bit about sort of the intersection of AI and Nostr. And we haven't talked about Nostr yet really for the hackathon. So maybe give like a brief overview of it, kind of the intersection for it, and then have a bunch of ideas that Pablo has for different ways you could use AI with Nostr besides what he's been working on. And then we're going to have some Replit bounties posted for some of those projects later on today. So, Pablo, want to do a quick introduction and then take it away?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I'm Pablo F7Z. I've been in Bitcoin for a long time and been absolutely enamored with Nostr for a few months, like since the beginning of the year. And yeah, I used to work at Swan Bitcoin as head of R&D. And yeah, I just started developing Nostr stuff at the beginning of the year, and I just could not focus on anything else. So I decided to just jump ship without a parachute whatsoever. And yeah, I've just been working on whatever interests me in the Nostr
Pablo,
ecosystem.
real fast,
Building cool
just
stuff.
give like a 10-second summary of Nostr, right? Of like why it's so interesting to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So Nostr solves a bunch of things in a very simple and really cool way. It started as a way to do social networks with in a decentralized and kind of censorship resistant way. But it does pretty much anything. You can structure data in pretty much any way. So you can make any kind of data addressable. So you can create composition where some data refers to some other data. So if you think of what the semantic web was trying to do, like whatever 10 years ago or so, Nostr can do it, but in a way that can actually work. Whereas semantic web was kind of hopeless. So, for example, one of the things that I built in Nostr is a music player called Subster. And yeah, people can upload songs, they can, or podcasts or whatever. And because they are Nostr events, everything in Nostr is an event. So because they are events, you can refer to them in any way, right? Like it has an ID, it has like an address. So a social client, a Twitter-like client, can support that event. So if, for example, some people follow me and I upload a song to Subster, people using any social client, they can see that I uploaded that song. And if someone replies to that song with a comment saying whatever, this is cool or whatever, the people that follow that account can see that they are replying to a song. So it creates, it makes data very liquid in a way that is not siloed in Amazon data and YouTube data and whatever. Podcasting data. Everything can be interconnected.
Do you think it might be helpful? You want to share your screen and just jump onto one of the social clients real fast and just show like a little example of that before we go on to like your demo for the vending machines, the AI vending machines? Yeah. I'm so excited to see this. This is like it's one of the coolest demos I've ever seen. So I'm gonna add this to the screen.
All right. So this is Snort is a social client, like a Twitter clone, and this is Subster, right? So both of these are Nostr clients. So you can go to any Nostr client. So for example, I could go to Coracle, which is a different Nostr client, a different Twitter-like Nostr client, and it's all using the same type of data. But say, for example, if I were to come here and let's say I copy this ID for whatever this song is, and I publish it as ID, it's going to be, once it finishes loading, if it finishes loading, see, we are already starting with the demo failures. Let's try that again. Well, if it would have worked, it would have been awesome. So, okay, for whatever reason, it's not working. Let's try something else. A different ID. Okay, so this is a podcast. So if I publish this, my follows, the people that follow me, my followers, are gonna see uh, this podcast that I created here. That someone uploaded here, and yeah, you can open on Subster, and it provides a bunch of really interesting ways of doing things. So, for example, one of the issues that I wanted to solve is what if someone sees this song, sees this podcast on their timeline, but they don't know that Subster can they don't know about Subster. They just see that thing, but they don't know how to interact with it. They don't know how to listen to it or how to comment on it. So I wrote a NIP, which is called NIP 89, which allows a service, an application, to sort of like broadcast that it supports songs or supports podcasts, right? So now someone might be listening using my application, using Subster, and they will publish an event saying, I recommend or I use this application to handle podcasts. I don't know if you could hear that, but the podcast started playing in my ears. So now, if someone taps on that song, on that podcast or song, and they don't know about Subster, when you tap, the client will ask the people that user follows, saying, "Hey, I don't know how to handle podcast. I don't know what this is. Podcast is kind." So in Nostr, each event has a different kind. So Subster songs are kind 31337. Some people might recognize that number. I can't hear you.
Yeah, do you want to pull up the NIPs real fast, and we can just show like
yes.
just a quick example of that? And this is something for the demo that Pablo was just showing, right? Is that all of those different clients, none of them are like have to be like know about each other, right? What's happening on the back end is that Nostr stands for notes and other stuff over relays. Is that these guys are just connecting to relays, and there's a standardized way of showing the data of just there's an ID, there's content, and there's a signature over the data, and it's represented inside of a JSON blob. And that's all of the data is represented that way. So you can just make an application, connect it into one of these relays, and just get fed tons and tons of stuff. Right. And so what Pablo was about to show is the different NIPs, which are Nostr improvement proposals, I believe. And so those define the different kinds of events. So the event is ID, content, kind, signature. And so the kinds can be, this is like a long form text content. This is a short form text content. This is a podcast. This is something like anything like that. So.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, each like you said, each client can implement things in whatever way it decides, right? So there is this really weird client that shows kind one, so it's like a Twitter-like experience, but instead of being just like a regular feed, like the typical Twitter experience, it shows them on a 3D space, and it uses the ID, it's just a hashing of the ID as coordinates to cluster them. It's like very weird. Yeah, it's a very strange experience, but it's fantastic, and that's the cool thing, that if someone wanted to create a client that has like this really strange experience, and you try to create your own network effects, hey, maybe there are 10 people that find such experience, such UX appealing. So if that client required to get its own network effects, a network effect of 10 people is no network effects. So it pretty much would not be really possible. But the fact that you can tap into this network of bunch of really a bunch of people posting these notes, hey, maybe if it's only 10 people that are willing to use such a UX, they can still use that client and see a bunch of activity happening, even though most people don't even realize that someone else is experiencing and interacting with their content in this way. And the cool thing is that everything can reference other things, so there is no kind of restriction where only short form, which we call kind ones, short text notes can reference each other. Anything can reference anything, right? Which allows for very strange composition. So the sky's the limit with regards to the type of composition that you can do and how you mix this data together. So that to me excites me a lot.
Yeah, so do you want to go to your demo now? Because Pablo's been like basically doing this of that. I'll have him explain it more, but this is basically like, hey, you tie in AI with Nostr. It's like, so basically you've got like I'll have you explain it because it's literally like one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, so I came up with a concept of putting AIs and running AIs over Nostr. And what's very cool about doing it this way is that me as a user that wants some kind of data processing or compute of any kind, I can just say, I want this done. So the use case that I personally had in mind is I'm building a client, for a Nostr client, that is sort of like a mix between Readwise and Rome Research and Notion, kind of like that, and Goodreads as well. It's sort of like a mix of all those. And what I really wanted to be able to do is I want to be able to, I'm listening to a podcast and I say, oh, damn, this is really cool. This is a really cool idea. I want to capture it, but I want to capture it in a very, in a very usable way. So up till now, we had the concept of bookmarking within a podcast and stuff like that, or clips, which are really, really hard to make on a small phone, and you're moving this slider to the right, to the left. No, not this second. And it's such a hard experience because you're constrained by the small screen that unless you're really motivated, you're just not going to do it. Which is, I think, the case for most people. You listen to podcasts, it's like, oh my god, my mind is blown, and then 5 seconds later, with our shortened attention span, we forget about the idea and we get our minds blown by something else. But these ideas don't really go, for the most part, they don't go anywhere. So I wanted to very easily, 2 taps, highlight something in a way from a podcast, to capture a moment from a podcast in a way that is reusable. Because maybe in the future, I want to connect that thing that I've listened to in a podcast with something that I've read, and with some article that I saw online, or with something that someone said on Nostr, or whatever it might be, or a book that I've read, whatever. So I said, okay, I really want to transcribe podcast. I know I can run Whisper. That's great. I run it as within like a backend that I was making for Highlighter, which is the client that I'm working on. And I realized,
by the way,
Highlighter.com,
the best domain.
A good domain. And then I started thinking, well, first, this is going to be really hard to scale. Running an AI backend is definitely not my core competency. It's not what I want to focus on. I know this is a minefield of unknown unknowns. So what about if I create a market where people that do know how to run these models, and hey, they can scale, they can provide whatever they want, they can compete and give me the best price and the best service. And when I say best price, because best is a very subjective way of seeing the world. I might think that the best is the cheapest, but I might think that best is the most accurate, right? So what I wanted to be able to have is a market where I can just say, any user from highlighter.com, they can just say, I want this transcribed. Now, when you put the podcast URL, or from Overcast, for example, it has a timestamp. Now, that timestamp is probably not going to be fully accurate, like down to the second accurate, right? Now, there could be a transcription service that realizes that the timestamp is mid-sentence and it goes back, right? Or there could be a transcription service that will give me context. So I said minute whatever, 50, and it realizes that the paragraph actually started on whatever, 49, 30 seconds, right? And it gives me the full context, right? So the NIP, the proposal, the possibility in Nostr is NIPs.
Nostr improvement possibilities. Yeah.
Improvement possibility, the implementation possibilities, which is a total.
Yeah. You want to share it real fast? You want to put it up on screen?
You mean the NIPs?
Yep. Your NIP.
Oh, my NIP. Yeah. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, this one. Oh no, it's not that one. I think it's this one. Yeah, I think it's this one. Yeah. So what I came up with was this data vending machine concept. And basically, you just say a customer says, which is an NPAV, and customers can be other service providers. There can be other AIs. And it's just published an event, which for now is I'm probably going to change this, but for now it's just this random number. And it just says, I want a job done. For now, the jobs can be, where are they? Speech to text. I have a section where I actually specified, here. Speech to text, summarization, translation. It can be really anything. There are probably going to be thousands of these, or at least hundreds of these type of jobs. But basically, when you create a job, you say what type of job. Maybe you want to specify a model, so like use WhisperX large or whatever. But this is fully optional. And then inputs. You provide 0 or more inputs and then 1 output. So in this case, the input could be a URL. It could be another Nostr event, or it could be a job ID. I'm going to explain this later because this is very, very cool. And then as output, you can specify whatever. Like you can say, I just want text plain, or I want text VTT, or I want an audio if you're doing text to speech. You can specify, or you can say image PNG, for example, whatever type of output you're looking for. And then you can set an expiration, and you can create a bid. So you can say, I'm willing to pay up to whatever, 1,000 Satoshis, or, a million Satoshi, whatever it might be. The cool thing is that the service providers, the AIs, that they don't really have to be AIs. This could also be people doing manual jobs, sort of like Mechanical Turk style. It can be anything, right? It's just, you just want compute being done. You just want an output. They can give you feedback. They can tell you, yo, you need to pay me. And they can optionally give you a Vault 11, a Lightning invoice with whatever. Like, you need to pay me 10,000 Satoshis for this, and here's a Vault 11. Or they could tell you that they need whatever. The job request that you sent is not valid because the URL doesn't resolve, or whatever it might be. They can just give you feedback, right?
So just for the thing that we've covered so far for this is we've mostly been talking about like L402s, right? So like over HTTP, how do you pass back Bolt 11 invoices? And so what Pablo just went over there was, when you're communicating over Nostr, you have to be publishing via these events, right? And so what Pablo was saying there is that, hey, when you provide the job, right, they can give you feedback, but each one of those is published via an event. And remember what we said is that the event is an ID, it's got a content, it's got a signature over it, and it's got a kind, right? And so this is like the job feedback kind, right? You had a special one for that. And so then you publish a job request, and then the job feedback, instead of job being done, you get job feedback, and you publish another one. And this is just passing JSON blobs around that are hitting relays. And then when it hits the relay, it bounces off to all the other relays until it finds wherever its home is supposed to be, right? So just like to kind of.
And the cool thing is that everything is going over WebSockets, so you are constantly connected. So it's very, very fast. It's incredibly fast because the connections are established, right? You're not having to set up the HTTP connection. You are already connected. So this feedback and this going back and forth, if there is back and forth, is very fast, which is very cool. The cool thing is that the NIP is very, very, very intentionally ambiguous. So you could have a data vending machine that will say, you ask for compute of any kind, and it can say, okay, I need you to pay me before I start processing. Or it could start processing, tell you, hey, I'm processing this. And once the results are done, it will tell you, now you need to pay to get the results. Or it could say, I'm processing it. I'm going to give you, say, you need to pay 10 sats for me to start processing. Once it starts processing, it could give you the first, say, 1 minute of the transcription and say, pay more if you want the rest, or pay more if you want me to keep processing it. It's completely up to the service providers, because what I want is for service providers to be able to estimate risk and behave in a more sophisticated way, right? Because if I'm thinking what's the best UX for a user, same, I'm a user with a lot of followers, a history of paying for things. If I request a job that is going to cost the AI, let's say 100 sats, what's a better experience? That the service provider checks, gives me the data, and then asks for, like, you go to a bar, you order stuff, or you go to a restaurant, you order stuff, and then you get the bill. If the UX was, I want a water, okay, give me $5. It's a worse UX, right? So it's up to the service provider to model the risk and price it, right? So, and to me, that's very cool. And I think the fact is that in Nostr, all activity is public for the most part. It's public. So data vending machines, they can see if you tend to pay or if you have zero history. If you have zero history, hey, I'm not going to give you any upfront data compute because I would go bankrupt in a second. But that's up to hey, if a data vending machine, I actually have in the demo, we might see it if it still works. We're gonna see that I have the same code base with different configuration, different risk configurations, and one of them is called trusting vending machine, and it will just compute everything. And then I have another one that is called fool me once, which is I will compute when you tell me to compute, and I will give you the results. But if you stop paying for the results that you told me that you wanted, I will not serve you again. Awesome. And I have another one that's called an undercutter. And the undercutter is just listening for what the other vending machines are doing, and it will always undercut by 5% whatever the others are doing.
That's so cool. Okay, Pablo, I think we've got enough build up. I think we could try the demo. I think we could.
It's actually it's very likely that my backends
have really fast about what happened of like when you were trying to set up this demo, because like you released this as open source software and you published it, and then you were like, hey, why is this breaking? Can you tell that story real fast?
Oh yeah, so I published like 5 minutes before hopping on the live stream. I published the on Nostr. I said, oh, I'm open sourcing my backends and blah blah. This is how you can test it, and blah blah. And then I was just running the demo right before hopping on the live stream, and my jobs were like my backends were all dying all the time. I was like, I'm not even hitting it. Like, how is it dying? And it was other people that have already been running these backends, testing it and passing all these weird URLs and weird data that I didn't account for because this is like a concept. I was like, oh, shit. Okay, well, the demo is going to be.
It's okay. All right, we're gonna figure it out. I don't know. I love live demos, so this is gonna be fun. Here we go,
we'll do it live.
You ready?
All right. So here is the new UI that I'm making for Highlighter, and the basic idea is that just to show a little bit of the product, you see here a bunch of things that people have been reading and whatever. And here on the search, I can paste, say, for example, an MP3 URL that I want to highlight. So here it shows me, it detects that it's an audio. And what it's going to show me here is it's offering me to transcribe the audio, and it's asking me how much I'm willing to pay. This is going to be changed based on data. So based on the length of the MP3, Highlighter might check, okay, how much do usually people pay for this thing and stuff like that to give you a sane default. Right now it's just 1,000 sats. It's hard coded. What we're seeing here, it's like basically seeing the punchline of the joke before the joke is finished. But what we see here is if someone else has requested this exact input, so the URL is the input. If someone has requested this input before, it's going to show me that someone has already done it, because maybe I don't need to pay for this because someone else has already paid for these exact same parameters. So for now, I'm just going to hit request. So here it published the event, and Fool Me Once DVM is saying, I want you to pay 950 sats for you to get to start processing this. This one is someone else's implementation. So when I published the NIP, a really cool guy built an implementation before I built mine. So this is his implementation is an entirely different code base. It's running on someone else's hardware. But yeah, this guy's awesome. So this guy, his nick in Nostr is "Don't Believe the Hype," which is a very cool name, and and he already built a Mid-Journey self-hosted. No, it's not Mid-Journey. It's a stable diffusion. So Highlighter doesn't support it yet, but you could hit this npub and ask it to create an image for you based on some content. So this trusting vending machine has already given me here the results of this MP3. So this MP3 is just me saying hello. This is the test. So if I hit here, it's just going to take me, it's going to ask me to pay. But as you can see, I can just hit cancel here and not pay, right? I am going to pay because I am a good person. And I want trusting vending machine to continue to trust me. I don't want to bankrupt it. Yeah, especially because it's myself. And yeah, here I could highlight based on the results, and I can say this is cool and save it. And this is highlight, and this is my comment on the highlight. Yeah, and yeah, I can send the money to the highlight. But yeah, this is not so much related to the Nostr stuff, to the AI stuff. But yeah, here you could also say you could also give it like YouTube videos. Mine doesn't support it, but I think yeah, they claim that they support it, but they don't. Probably this one has already crashed actually. Yeah.
So that one's crashing because it's just seeing the event and then just like trying to transcribe it immediately before it gets paid.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm gonna pay this guy because I think he's already supports YouTube. But wait, actually, this is a live YouTube. Yeah, so this one is probably going to crash as well. I gave it a live. I gave it a live URL, so it's probably like, oh wait, there is no end to this video. Let's see if I can give it another. I'm gonna cancel it and give it another. It's very raw, these demo, as you guys can see.
Yeah, I love this. This is so cool though. So kind of wrapping this together in terms of like the AI and Bitcoin aspect of this, right? Is that for these data vending machines, you're just publishing jobs, and the job doesn't distinguish between who it is. It just defines what you want. And so what you've created here is like you have these long running agents that are basically waiting for these events to show up. And when an event shows up, it says, hey, I want a transcription. Then you can configure it such that I'll just start transcribing it for you so that it's like ready for you before you even pay me, right? Or you can have it like, hey, you pay me if you like, I'll do it. I'll trust you the first time, and then like I'll just do that. But then, or you'll have it, hey, well, you can pay me for the service, and then once you pay me for the service, you can do that. But what's cool about this is that now it's just like anybody can just like pay in sats over Nostr, and it's kind of like publishing to a marketplace of AIs that can just like give you like just do services for you. Right.
Yeah, that's right. And what's really cool. So as I was working on this new UI that I'm building for Highlighter, one of the things that I wanted to do is have like these trending topics, stuff like popular list and trending highlights and stuff like that. It's just like the typical. But I personally don't want to build those algorithms. I would rather just pay someone to like pay 10 sats per every 10 minutes for new results of running that algorithm. And hey, to me, that's like totally worth it. And what's cool is that I could just publish a job request saying, give me the most popular, whatever, highlights or songs or whatever it might be. And a bunch of different algorithms, like it could be really weird algorithms, like they will only give you results that contain typos, or they could only give you results that are safe for work, or they could only give you results that are within like doing some kind of web of trust weighting on the data. It could be anything, right? And now I can consume that from Highlighter. The different algorithms are making money from Highlighter, but then any other Nostr client can benefit from the same algorithm. So now a Primal, for example, Primal is like a Twitter-like client. Primal has a trending, and they've done some of the algorithms work to highlight to create like the trending tweets and stuff like that. Say now Primal, instead of having to run that themselves and having one algorithm for the trending notes or the trending tweets, they can just have a market of long tail algorithms that they will say that they could even look at which person is asking for this trending stuff, and I can give you a result for your exact user, right? Now all the Nostr applications, they can implement this, and instead of having every single client having to build one or two algorithms, now every single client can tap into a market of infinite algorithms for any kind of weird, really strange results. And people can go from one result to another and try a bunch of different data vending machines and see which one they like. I find that quite fascinating.
That's so cool, Pablo. Hey, I think your mic's actually kind of acting up a little bit. You mind just like unplugging, replugging real fast? Yeah, but this is so cool, right? And so let's so now we've seen of like, hey, you've got these data vending machines, like Pablo kind of built like along with the actual like agents and stuff like that do this stuff. You built kind of a protocol for doing on top of this. Like, you want to just kind of spitball a little bit about like cool AI sort of things that you would like to see from the hackathon that like maybe you haven't started working on, and you're on mute right now, that maybe you haven't started working on yet, or like, because I can give you like a couple ideas for it. One of them is that I'm really interested to see, I don't think anyone's picked this up yet, but so the way that Chroma and Pinecone and other embeddings and vector databases work is that you normally have like content that you create embeddings over, which has associated metadata to it. And I think that's like a perfect match for Nostr, right? Because like basically the structure of the events becomes like a really easy way for you to pull the content out, create embeddings over the content, and then attach the associated metadata. And so all of the filtering and stuff that everybody's already doing for the metadata filters, right? You can do that and then also be able to attach embeddings over all the content for it, right? And so you can do, like you're talking about, hey, the semantic web doesn't really work, and like there was a total fail for this stuff. Semantic search is coming back in a big way, because now you can do semantic search over these embeddings databases, and you can use that as context for feeding it into AI large language models. And so that's like one idea that I haven't seen anyone pick up yet. It'd be really cool to do that. We'll probably post a bounty specifically for it. Nice. Of that, like making a Nostr plugin or just Nostr integration with an embeddings database, so that you can take Nostr events and just take embeddings over those and do the same sort of metadata searches. But that's like an idea that I had, but I know you probably have a million, because the Pablo idea train never stops, along with the
right? Well, there's one caveat or disclosure or whatever, that I have not been super plugged into all the AI stuff. I came to the AI stuff just because I needed it, and I know that it can give me this type of data, and it can. What I've noticed about AI so far is that usually it's very, very cool. And sometimes what I feel is that it's missing a bit of the why. Like, it's really, really cool tech. Now what am I going to use it for? Mm-hmm. And with this transcription stuff, it's something that I need. So I'm coming into the AI from I really need this. And then I start saying, oh, I can connect it to this and to this and to this. Just to close the loop on the NIP stuff before we jump onto this, is that I mentioned that inputs on job requests can be URLs, events, or jobs. Now, a job is a job request. So I could create, say, for example, 10 job requests saying transcribe podcast 1, transcribe podcast 2, transcribe podcast all the way to 10. And then I could create the next so job request number 11, saying, grab the output of these 10 jobs whenever they're done, grab the output of these 10 jobs, and summarize the main points into whatever, 5 paragraphs, or give me the 10 most important ideas, right? And I could say, now create job request number 12 and say, grab the output whenever it's done, grab the output of job number 11, the summarization, and create a podcast based on, so instead of listening to like the 10 podcasts, I can tell it, give me the best ideas from those 10 podcasts and create something that I can listen to in 5 minutes. And then if I want to click into one of them, I can do that later. Or I could say, from the summarization, create an image, create a mid journey. And that could be like the cover for a list that has the 10 podcasts. Or I could say, grab those 10 podcasts and grab these 10 books that I've saved in Highlighter, or grab whatever the people that I followed to in Nostr, grab what they've been saying in the past 24 hours and tell me where are there coincidences, or like you can go pretty much wherever you want. But the idea of chaining these jobs and grabbing inputs, grabbing the output from one and being the input of another one, and being able to just publish the entire thing, and whenever it finishes processing, I just get the results that I'm interested in. I think that's super powerful, because it's composition at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that's something that a lot of people like within the AI side have been like kind of focused on. Like one of the most popular sort of abstractions for doing this has been LangChain, which is this way of an abstraction layer for chaining together different models of like, hey, we take this LLM, we've input it with this stuff, with this context, and then we take the output and we feed into this other thing, and then we feed it into another one, which calls a function, which does those. And so what's super cool about what you're doing here is that you're just using the Nostr relay system in order to chain these jobs together, right? So like I publish an event and it's looking for, hey, can I find the predecessor event for this thing? And like once it finds that, then it's like, okay, well now I know how to do this job that was just given to me. So you can chain these things together, but you're not actually running the whole chain locally, really. Like you're kind of using the relay in order to chain the different events together. And so
that's right. And what's very cool too is that it's a market, right? It's based on the free market. So that allows for very long tail of these data vending machines, right? So I could say, I want a transcription of this thing, and a data vending machine could see it's a Bitcoin podcast, and someone could specialize in creating a data vending machine that transcribe Bitcoin podcast and that it doesn't mix the jargon. So for example, there's a concept of mini script in Bitcoin. When you try to transcribe mini script, many times it's transcribed to like manuscript or something like that, right? So an AI that specializes in Bitcoin podcast is going to beat all the other generic ones, right? So this allows for a level of specialization within these AIs that it's really mind-blowing. And like you said, I don't have to run the whole chain myself. I can just become really good at running, like, for example, the Bitcoin transcription AI, and allow the others to take care of their other stuff that I'm not a specialist in. And again, because it's very flexible, every different data vending machine will assemble and will decide how to work and who to serve, and then what the conditions on what output to construct, right? Because there could be 3 different solutions, and maybe one of them will preemptively choose what it deems to be the best solution and build before I signal which one is the best. It could just try to build on top of it's like on Bitcoin when you are hashing over the previous block, and yeah, to me that unlocks a little bit of this. Because what I saw with LangChain, it was a little bit of this issue of coordination, right? Where you are forced to vertically integrate. And what Nostr gives you is just organic horizontal integration, which makes it very cool because it allows for these long tail AIs.
That's so cool. That's like a really good soundbite right there, right? It's like for LangChain, you have a vertical integration for your agents and coordinating them. is that you've got a horizontal coordination for your agents where it only exists. This is like, I don't know, this just totally blew my mind, right? But yeah, this has been super cool, Pablo. Yeah, so we're gonna be announcing some Nostr related bounties for the next ones, and so Pablo, like this has been absolutely amazing. Thanks so much for this one, and like super glad you were able to come on. And like I'm so excited to see like how much further you can go with this throughout the end of the hackathon. But this is like, I don't know, this was like a totally, when we were talking about like doing this hackathon of that, like the intersection of like AI and Bitcoin, this is like precisely what this is, right? We even saw it there, right? Where you tried to offer that AI cert. Well, not, yeah, it was yours. It was the trusting vending machine, right? Like, can you share your screen again just so we can kind of talk about this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So we go back to that trusting vending machine. If we can try to hit that real fast.
There we
this
go.
Is exactly what we're talking about with. Yeah. Right. So see here is that because the trusting vending machine is just allowing access to the AI service, which costs money in order to run, right? Because it's just offering access to that without the gated payment, right? Like that's the one that broke, right?
Yeah.
But the other ones, sorry. The other ones, because they had gated access with payments, right? They can say, hey, I'm only passing along the cost to the user, or I'm only being used in such a way that I can provide value and I'm not going to get spammed for this stuff. Because the concept of spam for these data vending machines goes away entirely because I'm only running the transcription. I'm only generating the output. I'm only doing the AI component of it where I'm setting the graphics card on fire. I'm only doing that if I get paid, right? And so I just thought this was just like a perfect example of this is like exactly why we started this hackathon. First kind of stuff we were looking to see.
Yeah, and it's cool because you could say the getting paid part is one of the metrics that you're using to guard, to protect your assets, right? But there are other your model can use whatever, because maybe, for example, I could have say some service providers that are competing, and if they see that the job is coming from the highlighter NPAV, which would be always me, instead of my users, they could choose to always run it and then send me a bill at the end of the month, whatever it might be. So it allows for absolutely complete flexible design on your risk models.
Boom. All right. Let's end it there, Pablo. This was so cool. Okay. So thank you so much for jumping on. And yeah. All right. We're going to have some more of these Meet the Makers sessions to kind of highlight some of the projects that have been going on for the hackathon. And keep an eye out for Nostr bounties that can be posted later today. And
thanks for having me on, man. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Pablo.
Thank you. Have a good